Hi folks, hope you're doing well. So thanks for the messages following the last vlog. I thought I'd do a follow-up on some basic cutting methods. So still bearing in mind all our safety tips from the previous one, and because we're going to be making larger movements now with the sword, of course we really need to be aware that we've got a clear space to work in. So we're going to start with the sword held in whichever hand you feel most comfortable with. And we're just going to begin with an X, just drawing an X in the air. Once again, this is not any particular sword style or tradition, this is just a Systema movement with the sword in your hand. Body is relaxed, of course, check for any undue tension, natural breathing, and see if you can get a sense as the sword comes out that you're cutting. So of course you can just kind of twirl the sword, but ideally you should always be having that intention to cut. This is where there's a very strong tie over with a lot of our striking work, of course. The way you deliver the strike and the way you deliver the cut, there's a lot of parallels. So it's very interesting for me to explore the sword from that perspective. Now you can start to round the movement off a bit, be a little less linear, so as the point of the blade comes down, I let the momentum of the movement just swing it back up. Now you can see the body starts to work a little more. That X becomes more of a figure eight. You can put as much body movement in or as little as you want. But bearing in mind we're looking at this mainly from an exercise perspective at the moment, it's good of course to get all your shoulders and the hips and everything else involved as well. You don't have to be super fast, but get a nice smooth movement working. So I'm going to switch hands, but I'm not going to stop. Okay, and now from here I'm going to reverse direction. So now it's upward cuts. Now these circles, you start off quite large, but of course you can work these down to much smaller movements as well. But I recommend, certainly for exercise and getting everything opened up, you keep everything nice and large. Just one other thing. The other hand, what do I do with it? I can kind of stick it out here somewhere, some sort of action pose, but look what happens here, there's a potential for actually cutting myself. So in general, keep the other hand close to the body. You might even want to put it behind the back or in a pocket, whatever. As long as you know where that hand is and it's not in danger of contacting the blade. So upward cuts. Again, once you get comfortable with this, you can pick up speed, you can change the size of the circle, but we're just working that basic figure eight pattern. Changing hands again. And always come back at the end to your large open cut and slow down. And there we are. So that's the X cut or the figure eight. So the second one is the downward part of that movement, but now we're going to take the blade around the head and into the cut. So we've got a twisting movement here. Again, you can put as much of that wave in as you want to, but the basic position is we start from our sort of guard position again, for want of a better word. We come out and down. Again, I'm letting the momentum of the blade come round the head and into the cut. Now at first don't worry even about the idea of cutting, just get that movement. Once you've got that, and again it's nice and smooth, then you can start thinking about your actual cut. Again, extending out and forward slightly. Again with the breathing, I hope you can hear that. Inhale, exhale. Now there's lots of little embellishments you can put into this kind of work, but really the main thing at first is to get that nice and smooth. And of course we're going to repeat on the other side. Again, that other hand is tucked away, not waving around. The sword here, a couple of different methods of this. You can bring the sword round, so this is like protecting the body and hitting, or the sword can come up above the head. Try not to hit any low-flying birds. This way I prefer because you're getting a real, much more of the body work going on. So that's here, round and cut. Let the sword drop, round and cut. And our last one we do today, this is like a deflection and cut, because of course you never really want to try and block with the blade. So here we curl in and cut across. We curl in and cut across. So the fist here is just coming in. There's our deflection, and then we cut. Now the cut itself might be to the back of the knee, it might be across, higher up, whatever. But the salient point is that we get that rotation. From the body a little bit, from the hand turning, and then cut out. Just let the feet, again through all of this you can't see the feet, but the feet should be not fixed in place, right? Just like our normal Systema work. When you're working the pads, the heel is lifting slightly, so we're getting that rising and falling, not fixed in a stance. So the same here. Change hands. So curl in, cut out. Curl in, cut out. Now once you've got those basic 3 cuts working nice and smooth, you can of course add in any of your own, but you can start putting them together. You can make your own little sequence or routine. Important thing, safety first of all, nice clear space. Second thing, tension, posture, breathing of course, and your movement, don't be fixed in position. Third thing is a nice smooth flow between all your movements. That's what we're working for this exercise. It's a flow exercise as much as anything else, okay? The other thing is, if you've got a single edge blade, much as we do with the stick, sometimes you can use the body to work. So sometimes let the back of the blade, if it's safe to do so, come in contact with the body and see how you can use that to throw the blade back out. So you can start again with your basic 8 movement, and you can start working in whatever variations. And so on and so on. Now if you want to practice actual cutting work, there's a few different things you can use. People use those cardboard tubes you get inside of carpet rolls, branches, sticks, pieces of wood, that kind of thing. I found the easiest and most accessible thing to use at first is just plastic bottles with water. Hang it up somewhere and away we go. These should be fairly easy to cut, but give you enough resistance to know if you've got the angle wrong, then the blade just kind of bounces off. So a couple of additional safety features we need to think about when we're doing this work. When we're working in a group, there's a cutting area. When a person steps up, they say cutting, and everyone moves away from that area. Much like you've got a firing range if you're working with pistols. You don't have people wandering across the range when firing is going on, I hope. The second thing is, depending on what you're cutting, you might want to wear eye protection. This is pretty safe, but even so. But if you're wearing, if you're cutting wood or anything that might throw something up, then of course wear some eye protection. The third thing is, I don't advise you work this on your own. Always have someone else around. I say that because if you're working with a sharp blade, you might get this wrong. It could bounce off and you could cut yourself on the arm, or you cut yourself on the leg. You don't want to be on your own if that happens. So bearing all those safety things in mind, you might like to give this a try. Now, why do we do this? Well, again, it's a little bit of fun, but also it helps us give some focus to our movements. We're not just twirling the sword, we're actively cutting something now. So we've got to be sure of our position, we've got to be sure of our angle. But the other thing as well is, see, this is sharp, this is plastic. I can just take a big swing and it's more than likely going to go through. But what I want to be working is efficiency as well. Can I deliver this power with a shorter movement? Can I deliver this power in such a way that the sword is not going to swing wildly across, which of course in real life is going to leave me wide open. So you can think of this as kind of like bag work, I guess, or like if I go way back in the day, we used to try breaking things with punches, bits of wood, bricks, that kind of stuff. So it can be, I don't recommend that now by the way, because I've actually found my punches are much better having moved away from all that, working the Systema method, but that's another story. You are of course hitting a stationary target, so again, just because you can slice a few bottles doesn't make you D'Artagnan or Conan the Barbarian. It's the static target, and it's just a way of practicing your cuts, and also perhaps having a little bit of fun at the same time. The other thing as well, anything you're using, dispose of it responsibly of course, especially if it's plastic. So I've only got a couple of bottles here today, but we'll just see what we can do with these, just to give you a demonstration. So you see my angle was not quite good on that. I've gone through, but not all the way through. So let's try again. That's better. There, see, we've got a nice clean cut all the way through. So you can of course use any size bottle, and of course you don't have to be using a sword. You can work a knife or axe or sharp object of your choice. Just remember to abide by all those safety precautions.